who decides the protocols?
So as an industry leader, that's something we developed, but obviously we took a lot of feedback from other big players in different industries. There's tons of stuff you can find online, for example, and we've got stuff sent to us from Ironman, World Triathlon Association. We've consulted with a third-party medical provider who's made up of EMTs and health and safety professionals, and obviously taking guidance from the best practice from the WHO and the CDC as well. I wanted to leave here as a person kind of responsible for this and make sure I did everything I can to make sure this was as safe as possible, obviously within reason, while still maintaining the core DNA of the brand, right? We wanted people to really feel like this is still a Spartan race. When we thought about all the different things we need to do to make sure it's safe, it comes down to obviously PPE and sanitization tactics and social distancing. And part of that social distancing component is the capacity, the number of people on site. We would typically host an event with anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 people per hour coming through our doors. In this race, we knocked it down to 300 people per hour. And we were much more deliberate now about controlling when those people arrive. So at a normal event, you can show up anytime. If your heat's at 1 o'clock, you can show up at 8 a.m. But in this case, we were very prescriptive and said, if you're not allowed to show up any earlier than 30 minutes prior to your heat. And that goes back to us just being able to kind of engineer the number of people on site. That's one of the core kind of foundations of what we're trying to do here. When they're sent their email, it has a start time. So in the text size and everything to make sure that text was bigger, and people were required to screenshot their email and show up and show us the start time. We just look at how generally the U.S. is open right now. Like I can go to the grocery store and I can touch many things, and the onus is on me as a customer to take the right protocols and steps to clean myself afterwards. And so we kind of took a little bit of that approach where instead of trying to be proactive and clean everything throughout the day, which I didn't think was reasonable or even feasible, I think that gave like a sort of a false sense of security if we did promise that. Instead, we provided the means for people to clean and sanitize themselves after every obstacle. And after every touch point in the festival. So we had I think we bought like $20,000 worth of hand sanitizer, and it came in like half a container from China. And so that's everywhere. In the first health screening area, it's after registration, it's in all through festival, and then after every single obstacle, there's a thing of hand sanitizer where you can pump and clean your hands. And we have lots of it, so there's no concern there. What we did with our staff, we tested every single one of the staff with a PCR, so a nasal swab for COVID-19. So I've been tested, every single one of their staff have been tested. And then every day on site, we got a health screen where we asked the question of, have you experienced any symptoms? Have you been around someone? And we got a temperature checked. We did it every morning. And then we did that for all the volunteers. We did that for every single race that came through. And then we were all required to wear face coverings throughout the day. Volunteers wore them anytime they're in festival or near an obstacle within 40 feet of someone. They had to wear it. And then same protocols for staff. So had to wear a mask within the time you're with. In base camp right now is a 6-foot rule, but out in the customer facing stuff, everyone's wearing a mask in festival, as well as if you're on course within 40 feet of someone else. How do we scale this? How do we take 1,200 people back up to something that can get us to at least break even or making some money? Because we lost a lot of money today, which is okay because this is our case study, right? This is our way of, as an industry leader, showing that we can produce safe events, safe mass participation, outdoor events. And so the next step is how do we get more people through our doors? And so we're looking at everything from the actual tactics that are in place, from PPE to sanitization, things like that, and then we're looking at how that impacted throughput and what was the actual throughput on course, were there lines, going back to making sure we have an experience that's core to the DNA of what we do. You were in the start line, you saw we had 6-foot markers all throughout the start, and people social distance, and I didn't think it was burdensome. I don't think it was like it created a bad experience. But obviously, as you add people, things like that become maybe a little more awkward. So it's finding the balance of how many more people can we add, and I certainly think we can add a lot more, and still maintain all the safety requirements we have in terms of transmission mitigation. And we're not going to go from 0 to 100 overnight. We're going to go from here. We'll change it up a little bit. And make sure we just tweak things incrementally to get back to where we're at. We appreciate this is a slow and methodical process, and like anything, like any race, this is a marathon. This isn't going to be a sprint. It's like being back at day one and starting the brand from over. We were literally redesigned everything. We started from a clean slate. So how do we approach this event? How do we approach putting on events again? Look at all our protocols and change it all up to make sure that we can keep people socially distant, we can keep our employees and staff and volunteers safe.